Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living.
Hello and welcome. This is Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. Thank you for joining me today. I've got a topic that's very important. Every person, in fact, who has ever become a success has done it utilizing what I'm about to talk about. Every person who has ever not succeeded in something has done it by not doing the things I'm about to talk about. It sounds simple, but it is the backbone and the foundation of all success. And I want to share this with you. A mentor of mine, John Maxwell, has called this the rule of 5. And what he says is it's the 5 things that he does consistently, keyword, consistently every day. He said, if you take an axe and want to cut down a tree and you swing that axe 5 times at that tree every day, that tree will eventually fall. Now, the sharper the axe, the quicker it's going to happen. The bigger the tree, the longer it's going to take. But if you swing consistently 5 times a day, eventually that tree's coming down. That's the way it is with our goals. And it doesn't matter what goal you have. It doesn't matter what vision you have. That's probably going to be different for many of us. But it does matter that you set this on the agenda. Success is determined by our daily agenda. Our daily agenda. It's easy to wish for things and to think about things in the future and to hope that you one day get there and to despise or to at least think lowly, to put a lack of importance on what's done that day. Yet it is what happens each day that compounds and moves you closer and closer and closer to that goal. We talked a couple of weeks ago about picking the goal, getting your vision straight. What goals is it or are they that are important to you? Getting that clearly set in your vision, setting the compass for its true course to what it is you want. And then we also talked about, in a different episode, we talked about what stepping stones need to be between where you are now and where you want to be. What are those big pieces that need to be there? And the thing is, most of those stepping stones don't get created in a day. I once heard someone say Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built day by day. Each day, they put a few more bricks in place. They put down some mortar. They paved the street. They built the Colosseum. They did whatever it was that they were working on. It wasn't all done in a day, but they worked on it day by day until it was accomplished, and eventually it was accomplished. So this matter of daily discipline, the rule of 5, this is so important that we put this in. So our question really is, what must be on our daily agenda to move us forward in our journey? What pieces need to be in place, and what are we going to do each day to help solidify those pieces, those stepping stones? Well, you get one knocked out, boom, that's great. Go to the next, because there's always going to be another stepping stone in that journey. So what must be on the daily agenda to move us forward in our journey? That's question number 1. Then the second question is, how much time will you dedicate to each item daily? And there are 2 things I think that we can do that kind of sabotage us on this. Number 1 is we bite off too much. The old saying, don't bite off more than you can chew. We tend to do that, especially if we're behind in something. If we realize we're behind, say we've neglected our health and we gained 50 pounds and we say, oh my goodness, okay, this has gone on long enough. I am knocking this out. I want to be there by next week. And so we get super over aggressive and we try to do too much. And again, this is especially an issue if we realize we've fallen behind in some area and then we try to catch up. We run too hard. We run too fast. We burn ourselves out. We get an overuse injury. The second thing is we either do too much or we do too little. it's easy to get overwhelmed, go, oh, wow, I'm so far behind. I can just never get there. I just can't do it. And then it brings in kind of a despondency, a depression. It makes us feel like, wow, I'm never going to get there. And so we don't do anything. And then what happens is we feel bad because we're not moving forward. Then we look to false comforts. Then we do things to make ourselves feel better in the moment that do not help us get better in the long run. I think a lot of addictions of various kinds. It can be the more severe ones that may come to your mind, but it's addictions of all kinds. It can be small things. It can be too much TV. That can become an addiction. It can be too much social media. That can become an addiction. Not bad things. I'm not saying that. They're not bad things, but addictions can often be things that could be good taken to an unhealthy proportion to meet a need that can't truly be met through those things, right? So fulfillment comes from us moving forward and taking responsibility in that. The other thing I want to recommend is don't overcrowd your schedule. Just don't do it. Don't take on too many new things that you want to get ahead in. You can do too much in one area, or you can do too many areas. Don't pick 10 goals, brand new goals all at once in addition to your existing responsibilities. Determine what's the most important next stepping stone, and then go, okay, now how do I add that in to my existing schedule of responsibilities? Definitely allowing time for self-care, allowing time for reflection, allowing time for relaxation, allowing time for rest. Those things are super important. We tend to look very down, or we did before last year, but we tend to have a bent towards looking down on those in our Western society, and we shouldn't. A lot of cultures that have those things, cultures that take naps on a regular basis, they tend to do a lot better and are much healthier in a lot of ways. So just burning the candle at both ends doesn't ultimately get us where we want to be. Just that hard charging mentality. People respect people who work 10 to 12 hours a day. Some people respect them, but that's a surefire way to burn out. Now, if there's a special project, that's one thing. But if you're doing that on an ongoing basis, you just feel like that's how hard you have to drive yourself to get where you want to be. That's an issue. So just keep that in mind on overcrowding the schedule, taking on a new thing and doing it too much. If you haven't been to the gym in 5 years, you probably don't want to schedule 5 hours a day at the gym. You might want to start with a half hour and then work up from there as it's appropriate. And you don't want to schedule 10 new things a day either, like I said, because you don't want to overcrowd that schedule. Leave some breathing room in that schedule. So here's some tips that I want to leave you with. One is write down each item on your schedule. There's something about writing things down. Okay, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. Now, if you do it well, that's great. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. If you get tripped up, if it doesn't really work for you, don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up. Failure is an event, not a person. So if something didn't work well, go back and analyze that. Go, why didn't that work? Did I just set it for too early in the morning and I didn't give myself enough time to rest? Or did I put it at a wrong time in the day? Or do I not really care about this? But find out what it is that's keeping it from working. Just look at it objectively. Do not take it subjectively and look down on yourself for having not succeeded at it, and find out, okay, how can it work better? If in fact it needs to work. And then decide how much time you're going to dedicate to each item daily, okay? If it's a half hour, if it's an hour, if it's 15 minutes, whatever time needs to be spent on that item, put that in and then write that down. Don't despise small beginnings. And this is back to the time and scheduling. Don't despise small beginnings. If you haven't run in years, don't start by running a marathon, right? The first guy that ever ran a marathon was a letter courier. He was traveling to take a letter from the king to another place, and he got there and he handed off the letter and he dropped dead. Don't do that, okay? Pick a reasonable amount of time and then adjust or add more as it's appropriate. But don't look down on yourself for starting small. If you remember back in the day when Richard Simmons was all the rage on health and fitness, he would always say, I remember seeing his videos, and he would say, okay, now one more, now one more, now one more. If it was a leg lift, if it was a squat, whatever it was, he would say, now just one more. You can do one more. He didn't say, okay, let's do 100 more, because he would have lost everybody. And he helped a lot of people by the one more. Okay, let's just do one more. Okay, helped a lot of people that way because he knew he was wise enough not to despise small beginnings and to break it down into the smallest increment that he could and to start there and to help people build up from that place. And then the last thing I want to give you is if you're struggling to find time, look at the things you do that don't really add much value to you. In coaching, I have a worksheet that's called the 15-minute miracle. And it's a list broken down. The day is broken down into 15-minute increments between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. And you just write down in those 15-minute slots what you did. It uses Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants. It's either urgent and important, or it's not urgent, but it's important. That's where you want to spend most of your time in. Or it's not important, but it's urgent. That's just busy work and stuff, and that needs to be gotten done as quickly as possible or delegated off. And then the last quadrant, though, is it's not urgent and it's not important. In other words, you're kind of wasting time. And there may be some activities that fall into that category. So if you're watching 3 or 4 hours of TV a night, now every now and again, it's okay. You're just done and you just need to not do anything really important. But that's not good if that's happening on a nightly basis, that much TV. So you might be able to scale that back, get you a half hour, start with taking a half hour from whatever you're doing or an hour, some time that's not being really used to advantage and that could be done something for advantage. You could learn something. You could listen to a podcast maybe. You could read a book. You could write down some thoughts that have been brewing for a while and start organizing them. Maybe you're going to write your own book. Maybe you want to take a course. Maybe there's something you want to learn. Maybe there's a skill you want to develop. Start looking for those areas that are not really being used to advantage or that aren't adding value to you or other people, and start seeing if you can chip away some of that time and convert it into time that can be used to your best advantage. So those are my tips. This is super, super important. It's very easy to understand. It's much more difficult to do. Again, be gentle with yourself as you go through this, but be determined that you're going to keep moving forward in these areas that are important and that add the most lasting value. That's what you want to set your sights on and then start adding those things in today. And hey, we've all got to help each other. None of us have a corner on the market on this. I know I sure don't have to work at this and keep focused on this. And so we're helping each other. That's really what coaching is about, is helping other people stay focused and evaluate things and then keep moving forward. So again, I thank you for joining me. I'm Jeff. My email is jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching. That's Byrd with a Y, JEFFBYRD, coaching, COACHING, jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. And I would love to hear from you. I'd be happy to help you if I can. So feel free to shoot me a line and reach out and we'll chat. And in the meantime, I hope that this has been a benefit to you. And until next time, God bless you.